Hi, how you guys doing? For those that know me, thank you for saying hi. For those that don't know me, my name is Gabriel Nalle. I'm running for state representative for District 46. For those people that aren't familiar with that district, I'm running against the infamous Donna Dukes. We're very excited about this campaign run. I wanted to share some information with you about Juneteenth. Obviously, we wanted to celebrate the freedom, the freedom of slaves in Texas. But we got to participate, TCRP got to participate at the Juneteenth celebration. As one of the last hurrahs for James Dickey, we got to enjoy our time in the parade and then also have a booth where we had Michael Hogan and a few other people there to help us out, tell about the story of who we are. One of the best things that happened to us and to my campaign personally was we had people on the sides talking to people that were watching the parade. And they're saying, you gotta talk to Gabriel, you gotta talk to Gabriel. He's gonna be doing this, he wants to do this. He's one of these homegrown people that want to make a positive change in the district. Wow. And every single person that I went up to and I gave him my card, they said, we heard about you already. The best one that I had was this nice elderly woman who James Dickey spoke to while I was sitting in the truck. Now I'm sitting in the back of TJ's truck. Who got to join us in the parade, and I'm already getting tired. I had been sick the night before, and I went out there to try to let people know about what we're doing, and I started to get sick again, and TJ could probably attest about how
yeah, I thought you were going to die.
How pretty I looked. I looked fabulous, I'll tell you that much right now. But I heard this one woman tell me, Mr. Nalle, we got you here. And my wife's telling me, listen, we had another gentleman who's the precinct chair in Caesar's district say, listen. So I went over there, the lady says, I want to shake your hand. I said, no, we're going to do something better. And I gave her this big old hug, and I said, thank you for supporting us. And she says, don't worry, we got you. And every person that I spoke to was saying, we have you, except for one. Now, we're looking at thousands of people that were sitting out, that were out there watching this parade. And out of all of them, one person said no. That says a lot for what's going on in that district. Yeah. And we're invigorated by what's happening. We're excited about what's happening. We're actually going to be going into the Democrat realm and talking to the Democrat supporters that don't like Ms. Dukes anymore, and we're going to tell them about what we are going to do to help make a change.
Thank you.
Follow us on Facebook, guys. Gabriel Nalle for Texas House of Representatives. Go to GabrielNalle.com and see what we're doing there. All right, thanks a lot.
And we also have Cesar.
Hey,
be quick.
There you go.
Well, wait a second.
Hello, my name is Cesar Ruiz.
Let's not use that.
Oh, no, yeah, they can't go wrong right now. We're being recorded. So, my name is Cesar Ruiz, and I'm running for state representative in House District 50. For those of you who don't know, House District 50 is in North Austin, Pflugerville, goes all the way to West North Austin and Hutto, and it's currently held by Celia Israel. So, as I always like to say, she's a Donna Dukes in training, and we need to get her out of there because she is as far liberal as a liberal can be. She tries to claim that she's very inclusive, yet she just had a fundraiser, and this is in no way a knock to the community, but she just had a fundraiser called the Big Gay Fundraiser. Now, if I had something called the Big Protestant or the Big Catholic Fundraiser, and you weren't of that, would you feel excluded? So she's very exclusive. She's very inclusive only to her certain area, and she's pushing everybody away if you're not around there. In other words, she's only representing that special constituency group that she cares about. She's not representing you, she's not representing me. And it's a big change from what we had before. So as Gabriel was talking about, the change is coming. The tide is turning. People are coming up to us as well and saying, hey, who is she? Where is she? You know, where's Donna Dukes? We never see her. Where's Celia Israel? How come she never stands up for us? And so I recently, if you're a veteran, thank you very much. I'm also a veteran, and we recently had a meeting together with a couple of my veteran brothers. And as you know, if you know any veterans, they don't mince words. They're very colorful with them. And one of the guys in a very colorful way says, if she walked right by me, I would not know who she is. And the other guy said the same. And then the next guy said, you know what you need to do? You need to get a where's Waldo picture and change it and say, where's Celia? Because we don't know who she is, we don't know where she is. So I just got off the phone with my graphics guy. We're building that up, and we're starting a strong campaign. We're about to come out. Gabriel's coming out strong. We're coming out strong. And you know what? We're going to win this. This is winnable. This isn't possible. This is winnable, and we're going to do it. But we need your help. We need every one of you in here to go out there to like our Facebook page, like our webpage, CesarRuiz.com, but come out there and show your support for us. Give us your support, because together we're going to change this. And as I like to say, we're going to change this crazy little blueberry into the sweetest raspberry in Texas with your help. So I thank you, and I hope for your support.
Hey, these are great candidates, and when we're thinking about these great guys near the bottom of the ticket, we've got to think about also who's at the top of the ticket, who's helping lead the charge, and that's what this meeting's about. We're going to have a Trump versus never Trump. It's also the on-time David and versus the late David. Dave Rogers
mentioned that never Trump is too late.
You can use that. But I did want to outline what I see as the different options as we come together. You know, normally what happens is we fight amongst ourselves in the primaries, and then we kind of come together, or usually mostly come together with a few disgruntled people who kind of say, well, I'll do my own thing. This year is a little different. We've had a large number of people who are saying they cannot vote for Trump. We've had Senator Ben Sasse back in February saying he could never vote for this man. And quite frankly, I'm on the razor's edge of being one of them, and I have been for months. When I saw how Donald Trump performed before the South Carolina debate, went 9/11 truther, went code pink, and said the things he said, I was just aghast watching that debate and thinking, I don't know if I can vote for that man. And since then, he's done another thing and another thing. He's insulted a candidate's father with a weird conspiracy theory. He's done a number of things that, in many respects, go beyond the pale. One of the things that has been very controversial has been his statement about this federal judge sitting on his case. Now, a lot of people are upset about that because they believe there's some, Speaker Ryan called it textbook racism. But whether or not it's racism, just think about the fact. A man is a sitting judge on his civil fraud trial, and he's going around saying he can't get a fair shake. He's saying that about a sitting federal judge. That is a very self-interested statement. That is a very unpresidential thing for a person to put out there. And it really begs the question of whether he has the integrity and the qualifications. And so that's why there is this continuing disturbance. As we stand today, there really are a few choices. We can just come together and recognize that Hillary is probably going to be worse. Now, some people agree, some people disagree. That's part of what this debate will be about. That'll be one of the questions. Heck, none of us think Hillary will be a good president, I believe. And so it makes sense to do whatever we can to stop her. But another choice, one which I share, is that I don't believe Trump can stop her. I think not only is he unqualified and has shown himself, but he's also unelectable. And we see this in polls. We see this in his unfavorables. We see how he basically is disliked by over 60, and in some polls, 70% of the American voters. And he's running 5 to 10 points behind Hillary. He's running behind Hillary in all these battleground states. So what can we do? Do we just give up? Do we do our college try? One option is to do what we're calling free the delegates. The convention actually decides who the nominee is at the end of the day. And while it's true, Donald Trump got the most votes. He got something like 14 million votes. 40% of the GOP electorate voted for him when it was a live thing, and then even when people dropped out. The total number of people who voted by percentage is still less than 50%. So most Republican voters did not vote for him. But on the other side, he got more Republican votes than any primary candidate ever. So we have this rather significant fact that he has a very large following, but a very large number of Republicans. And in recent polls, it's showing about 30% of Republicans will not vote for him. So we have a very divided party, and that's why, again, we're here to discuss this. Yes, TJ? Never one to...
I just was wondering, as you were talking about how Trump didn't get didn't get the majority.
Yeah, actually, it's about
Yeah.
44%.
Well, but my question to you is, did Romney have the majority of Republican
Yeah, actually,
votes
if
in
you
the
go
primary?
back in history, and there's a graphic, I'll share it. Basically, only McCain is the only other candidate who got less than 50, but he got more than Trump. Romney got well over 50%. Usually, and guys like Bush and Reagan, they were like 70, 80%. They wrapped the nomination up early, and then they just ran up the score. So the fact is that what we have to realize is that Donald Trump never closed the sale on many Republicans.
But neither
And
did
that's
McCain,
different.
And neither did
No,
Romney.
that's partly true, but mostly not true, in the sense that at the end of the day, Romney was getting the 60, 70% at the later primaries. He did actually get a majority of the Republican vote. He had issues, and all candidates have issues. The question is Trump's issues more fundamental? I think they are, and I think we need to reconsider and see what we can do at the convention. What can happen at the convention with the Free the Delegates? Delegates are not robots. They have their right to act according to their conscience. Now, in normal cases, when you've got bound delegates, they have a pledge and they should fulfill that pledge. But if you have a person who's tasked to fulfill a pledge to do something that violates their own conscience and violates what they believe should be done, they do have the right, and I think in some respects the responsibility, to consider the alternatives. And so there is a push to get the Rules Committee to recognize that. This is something that actually exists. Delegates can, at the convention, vote the way they want. And this is a fundamental part of the American, this is a fundamental part of democracy and freedom. It's like, your vote is yours. It doesn't belong to anybody else. There is something called, there's a clause that basically says that there shouldn't be a unit rule, and that basically means that states should not force their delegates to vote according to the state. There is some controversy on that, but that's part of why this is a push in the Rules Committee by some of the delegates on the Rules Committee to try to make it clear that delegates have this right of conscience to vote according to their conscience. We can consider a simple case. Let's take a more extreme case. What if it was found he was charged of a felony or some crime? What if he released his tax records and we found he was basically cheating on his taxes? We'd know he'd be unelectable. We'd know he'd be unqualified. There wouldn't be a question to say, oh, the delegates should actually reconsider. He hasn't gone to that level, but there are people questioning why he has, for example, not released his tax records. Some are speculating it has a lot to do with the fact that he isn't as wealthy as he claims he is, and that there is basically behind that a story where he is not paying the level of taxes that someone who goes around saying he's worth $10 billion, most people would think he should pay. So we what we'll see in the convention is the delegates that are concerned about this trying to make sure that they have the right to vote their conscience. And if Donald Trump's campaign is still in the off the rails, so to speak, if he's not really performing at a level, I think there'll be a lot of delegates thinking twice and really trying to reconsider whether there's a better option. I believe there is.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yes.
Or do you want to finish up?
No, I do want, because I'm talking too much and I need to let the real guy talk. I'm partly stalling for time because Dave Nalle is late, but I realize, no, I want to let you guys know, we will have time later to have Q&A for these guys. So let me just cut to the chase on what you all think about this. Because I asked the question, who's for Trump, who's never Trump? So I did a poll. The people who want to make America great again are totally for Trump, 8. The never Trump, never Hillary, who are like, I don't know what I'll do, I'll write in, 6. The Gary Johnson folks who are, won't go for Trump, will go for Gary Johnson, 4. Not a Trump fan, but we'll vote for him because we're never Hillary, 4. So if you kind of look at this, of our polled community, 12 out of 12 are Trump voters. I think that's significant because you would want it to be more like 80% to 90%.
Say 12 out of 12 are Trump voters?
No, what I'm saying is when I polled, 24 people answered that initial poll.
12 out of 24.
12 out of 24. I'm sorry. I misspoke. Yes, 12 out of 24 were say they're going to vote for
And the
Trump.
other 12 were Hillary voters?
No, nobody's a Hillary voter. The other 12 are, I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll write in, or I'm going to vote for Gary Johnson. On the free the delegates question, do you want to free the delegates so the convention can pick another candidate? 12 people said yes. 8 people said no. Then we had another option of, yes and never Trump, and go third party if it doesn't work. There are 3 people for that. So on that one, again, you got 12 out of 23 saying, let's stick with Trump. And you've got 11, depending on how you count, 11 depending on how you count it. Dave's arguing with the math, but I count it as 11 people supportive, like, okay, if we end up with another candidate, if the convention comes back with someone else, we'd probably be supportive of it. So, again, division of opinion. There are different options. Again, I feel like there's 3 things. We either stick with Trump, we free the delegates, find another candidate, or we just kind of go third party or do something. I believe sticking with Trump or going third party just means Hillary will be the president at the end of the day. That's my opinion. But I'm welcome to give Dave Rogers his chance to give his opinion. Dave Rogers is a recovering Democrat. He's been in many campaigns. He's been a conservative activist. I think I first met you on the Stephen Smith. You were doing Stephen Smith back in 2004. And many other campaigns, including my own in 2010. And he says he also helped Don Zimmerman in his campaign for city council. Good job there. So, good longtime conservative activist will tell us why we should support Trump.
Okay. Let's start with the first picture. First of all, let me tell you a little bit about who I am. Thank you for the introduction, Patrick. Yes, I was the campaign manager for the only person ever to sit on the Texas Supreme Court to the right of Nathan Hecht. So that's how conservative I am. But I started out far to the left. My first political experience in 1972 was on the tarmac at the airport, the old Mueller Airport. I was a prop in a photo opportunity for George McGovern. My parents were hippies. Then I grew up, I got a job, started paying taxes, and realized, wait a minute. I'm a father of 3. I'm married, and I'm a very small business owner. Dwayne is one of my clients.
Let me stop you right there, David.
Yeah.
Everybody in the room that knows me knows how I feel about lawyer. This is the only guy and his other partner that I would ever recommend having any dealings with attorneys or lawyers. These guys are awesome.
Well, thank you.
Awesome.
That's the nicest thing anybody said to me all day, and I woke up with a kiss from my wife.
I'll work
so.
on more things if you need to.
Okay. First of all, I want to make sure that we got an open-minded audience here. I'm pretty sure we do, but who here is open to persuasion on either side? You might go against Trump. You might go against him. Okay, we got an open-minded audience. All right.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
I'm not open to liking Trump. I may be open to holding my nose.
And voting for Trump. That's fine. And look, no candidate is perfect. Not even Patrick. Damn good candidate.
Caesar's a much better candidate.
Well, that's probably true. But I've been trying to get House District 50 back for a long time. Not only did I help Patrick when he ran for House District 50, I helped Don Zimmerman when he ran for House District 50. So, I mean, we got to get House District 50 back. Okay. When you're,
my phone hasn't rang yet.
hey man, when you're ready to block walk the neighborhood, you call me. I'm there. Okay. All right. So it's my mission to explain why, at this point, not 6 months ago, not when we were voting in the primaries, but today, why Trump is a better option than never Trump. Can he close the deal with Republicans and with the American public? Well, this is the alternative. Now, this is written by Jonah Goldberg, who is one of the strongest never Trump guys out there, with National Review. Just can't stand the guy. But he knows Hillary is worse. And if it came down to it and he was the last voter out there and it was tied, Jonah Goldberg has said, I would hold my nose and I would vote for Trump. But he lives in New York, so it's not likely to be a tie. Now, I want you to imagine Hillary as the President of the United States. And I want you to imagine what she would be like on your most important issues. She's selling American uranium to the Russians. She wants abortion on demand and she wants you to pay for it. Whatever your issues are, can you imagine that Donald Trump would be worse than Hillary on your most important issues? I think the answer is no, for everybody in this room anyway. Now, this is a big question for a lot of people. Is this guy just such a loose cannon that he's going to start a nuclear war? I mean, you know, Hillary says he can't be trusted with the red button. Well, Donald Trump seems to have a relationship on national security. He's very, very concerned about what's going on with Hillary and her inability to keep national security secrets. He's going to be a tough negotiator. Right? He's going to say things that offend people. He probably offended somebody this morning before 9 o'clock. But Putin respects the guy. Might not like the guy, but you know, and I don't much care for Putin, but we know that he's in charge of Russia, and if we're going to get in a nuclear war with anybody, Russia's the most likely candidate. And if Putin and Donald Trump can get along, right? I mean, they're not going to be buddies. They're not going to be that close. But I don't think Putin and Trump are going to blow up the world. Now, he has negotiated with business deals all over the world, in China, in Russia. If he was a loose cannon in his business deals, it would have come out by now. The guy is 70. People don't suddenly change their habits and the way that they act when they're 70 years old. Most people's personalities are fixed by the time they're 25. Very, very rare exceptions. Their personality continues to develop until they're 35. After that, if there's not a brain injury, they're going to pretty much continue to be the way that they've been. And Donald Trump has been a brash guy who's a little bit insulting, but he's not a maniac. He doesn't drink. He's never had a drink. His older brother died from alcoholism. It had a profound effect on him. He wants a strong military, but he wants peace through strength. You guys remember that, right? Mm-hmm. He wants to discourage war. Donald Trump has properties all over the world. If there's war all over the world, he loses money. Who here thinks Donald Trump wants to lose money? Trump has been negotiating with the Chinese for years. He's been negotiating with the Indians, the Japanese. You know, there's no sign anywhere that people think he's a lunatic. Now, the second thing people say is Donald Trump is terrible at business. How many bankruptcies does anybody here think that Trump has had? 4? 3, 5, 8. 4 is the actual number. How many Donald Trump entities do you think there are? Donald Trump businesses? Over 500.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a failure rate of less than 1%. Who thinks that's a pretty good failure rate for an entrepreneur who tries a lot of new things? That, by the way, that last one, can we go back to the last one? That's in Rio de Janeiro. It's for the guy who, some people say, hates Latin Americans. Okay, now, here's Donald Trump. That's the Success Perfume Launch. This is one of his buildings in New York. This is Donald Trump's building in Mumbai, India. Did anybody here know that Donald Trump had a building in Mumbai, India? Yeah, me either. He's been making deals. He's been on TV. He knows when not to make deals. He has a very diverse portfolio. This is a guy who takes risks, but he's also a guy who manages risks. You know, somebody who knows when to change course. I think we saw that in his speech this week. Very different from the Donald Trump we had seen earlier in the campaign. You know, The Atlantic described this speech earlier this week where he was attacking the Clintons directly, but also laying out his plans for the Trump administration as the speech Republicans have been waiting 20 years to hear. Slate magazine called it terrifyingly effective. That's what the left says. Trump is willing to make changes and tweak his approach when they need to be made. We know he is a risk avoider. And again, he's 70. He's not going to change who he is and how he's doing things. Now, the biggest objection to Donald Trump, okay, 2 minutes, all right. And the one that I'm frankly most concerned about, Donald Trump is a racist, okay? If Donald Trump is a racist, I'm out the door, okay? Donald Trump has employed over 200,000 people around the world of all different backgrounds. He has 2 Jewish grandchildren. If he's a racist, I'm the tooth fairy.
Not just a fairy?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute, because Donald is fabulous. All right, we don't have much time, so I'm just going to skip over that part. Oh, look at Donald hating on all these black people. Oh, wait, he's hugging the black people. Clearly, he's a racist, because we know, somebody who didn't believe and who doesn't like black people would go around hugging them. This is where he talks about race. When he talks about immigration, he says, look, it hurts everybody, including black Americans particularly. Because black Americans have historically been on the bottom of the economic ladder in the United States. And when you introduce new people at the bottom of the economic ladder who will work for less, the people who are already at the bottom of the economic ladder have the most competition. Trump wants to ban Muslim immigration. Well, not all Muslim immigration, only non-citizens and only temporarily. Maybe that's not so crazy. It looks a lot less crazy this week than it looked 3 weeks ago. Milo. Anybody heard of Milo? Milo Yiannopoulos is the technology editor for Breitbart.com. He is gay and he is totally fabulous and he is totally on the Trump train.
Calls him daddy.
That's right. Milo is going on a tour of college
Dangerous
campuses,
faggot.
the Dangerous Faggot Tour. Gays for Trump. It's a real thing. Donald Trump is thanking the LGBT community for his support because he's standing up for them. When he talks about Islam, he talks about the way Islam treats gays and women. Trump was a pioneer hiring women in the building trades when the building trades were not open to women. He hired the first woman to build a skyscraper in New York. Even his ex-wives love him. I think Donald Trump can close the deal. I think Donald Trump can make inroads in places where Democrats don't make inroads. I think that in the black community, Donald Trump will outpoll any Republican since 1960. I think in the LGBT community, I don't think there will be any Republican ever who matches him. And I think he's going to win in November. I don't know if he's going to make America great again or not, but I'd like a candidate who'd like to try. Thank you, guys.
Next up, the other David. Come on down. And I'll let you introduce yourself.
I'm David Nalle, and I'm the precinct chair of Precinct 105, which is the most wonderful precinct in the Austin area. A fine and vibrant community. Do you want me to move this? Well, I'm not going to shout.
Please shout.
That was for David or Trump. Anyway, I'll try to project a little bit. I'm here to debate the never Trump perspective, and I wasn't well prepared because I thought we were going to be here having this a little bit later in the day because I'm used to having the RLC meetings here, which start at 7. So I was a little disorganized, but I've been thinking a lot about Trump and what the problem with Trump is. And if you ask me, if he's going to close a deal, that deal is the end of the Republican Party. That's what Trump is going to do. The problem with Trump, the primary problem, he's got a lot of problems. But one of the biggest problems, I think, is that he doesn't run on Republican principles, any of the Republican principles. The party has changed over time. It has evolved. But none of those basic principles the party was founded on or that it continues to follow are really the principles that Trump is for. Trump is about Trump. And what's good for Trump is, as he sees it, good for the nation. But I don't agree with that. I don't think that the nation should be put in the service of any one individual. I think the purpose of the Republican Party and the purpose of good politics is to serve the public, not the benefit of cronies or one individual who's very wealthy and thinks he can buy the presidency. Trump's got specific positions which I have a lot of problems with. I'm not even going to talk about his repellent personality. We put a picture of Trump back up here if you can. He is deeply offensive on many levels, but what really is the problem is not his abrasive personality, which some people find sort of charming, and I can understand that. The real problem with Trump is just a couple of key policies, some of the most important policies the Republican Party follows, which Trump is against. In particular, the Republican Party disagrees, there's disagreement in the party on the issue of immigration. But there are other issues as well that we disagree on. But we do, I think, all agree on the idea that the party and the country is best served by aggressive trade policies which support free trade and economic growth. And Trump's basic position on economic issues is protectionism and nativism and not free trade, controlling trade. He wants to shut down immigration because that's going to restrict the labor pool. That's going to cause massive increase in wage prices, and that's going to lead to more expenses for businesses, and it's going to drive more businesses overseas and out of the country. He's in favor of protectionism. He wants to pass laws which are going to restrict the ability of countries to trade with the United States. It's going to restrict the profits of businesses in the United States, and again, those businesses are going to choose to locate themselves outside of the country because of that. That's his worst issue, as far as I'm concerned, this tendency to look to government to solve problems that we have with trade. The solution to business not being competitive in America isn't forcing other countries out of America. It's encouraging businesses to become more efficient and more productive and more successful on their own merits, not because the government is providing protections for them. That's the absolute wrong way to deal with trade. And that is the cornerstone of what Trump is running on. All of his other policies, things like his restrictions of immigration, things like he's got some very questionable policies on government surveillance. All of these things are in service of this idea of shutting down out American trade and just keeping it internal. And if you limit trade to internal trade, all through American history, America has been the great trading partner of the world. We've been a country that produces goods and consumes goods. We send things out of the country and we bring other things back. What we trade in has changed over time, but we've always had very open trade policies. That's what made America succeed. That's what made us take off so quickly as a center of business. And Trump wants to shut that down, or at best slow it down. And the free movement of money and goods and people for labor out into and out of the country is essential to that business success, and Trump wants to end all of that. And the Republican Party has long been based on the idea of being good for business. What's good for business is good for America, and Trump is good for Trump. He's not good for business. He's not good for America, and that's my problem with him, really, in a nutshell. Now, you can go into all the other details of all the things that are wrong with him. He has a lot of other things in his history which are very bad. This Trump University scandal, which David will minimize as much as he can, is really a terrible issue because it goes to the heart of what's wrong with Trump as a businessman. Trump is selling things. He's a very good salesman, very good at marketing himself and marketing his businesses. You know, David had a picture up here of his hotel in Brazil. He says it's Trump's hotel. It's not Trump's hotel. It's a hotel that somebody else built, and Trump made a deal to put his name on it. That's what Trump's all about. It's about marketing himself. And that's a good business for him, but it's not necessarily a good business for America because America wants to sell something real. And what happened with Trump University is that Trump was selling himself as a source of information and training, and what people who signed up for it got was somebody else telling them things that they could have found on the internet if they wanted to for enormous amounts of money, making a huge profit for Trump and for his cronies and not really doing anything good for the people who are in it. That's why so many people have sued him. There are class action suits. There are multiple individual suits against him just because of Trump University, and lots of people are suing him on other issues as well. There are lots of deals he's made, four bankruptcies, that's nothing. Lots of his former business partners have also sued him over the way he did business with them and basically being cheated out of what they expected to get from him. You can't always, deal fairly and on good terms with everybody in business. But Trump has an unusually high number of people who are very unhappy with the way he does business. That's why the big money donors are not donating to Trump. Trump has raised just a few $1 million in a campaign which is going to cost probably over $1 billion once it gets going. Well, it's really gotten going already. Hillary is hundreds of millions of dollars ahead as far as fundraising. And that's the other problem with Trump. For the Republican Party, he's disastrous. You're all Republicans, presumably. You don't want to see the party go down in flames in another election. This is going to be a Dukakis type defeat for us. Trump's negatives are so high. If you looked at the poll numbers on Trump are horrendous. Most people just look at the poll and see, oh, he's 6 points behind Hillary nationwide. That is only the tip of the iceberg. If you look down in the polls and look at the other more specific questions, the negatives that he has with different groups who are going to go out and vote are incredible. And people come out and vote on negative numbers. They come out to vote against the candidate they really don't like, and people do not like Trump. His supporters, like David, are very enthusiastic about him, but on the polls, if you look at it, he's got a 94% unfavorable rating among blacks. He's got an unfavorable rating over 80% among Hispanics. His unfavorable rating with general population is over 67%. These kind of negatives, you can't come back from that. There's no way to reverse the negatives he has. It's so bad that he'll be lucky to win a couple of states in the Northeast when things get down to it. And a lot of things that Trump believes in. I'm a fairly liberal Republican. I believe in gay marriage. I believe in immigration.
Open border.
Well, no, I don't believe in open borders. I believe in regulated immigration, reasonable immigration policy, like Paul Ryan is for and Marco Rubio is for. What?
No, open borders.
Not open borders. Yes. I believe.
Excuse me, I can show a post to you
Yeah.
where you
Right.
say the libertarians
What?
are, all the libertarians are for open borders like I am.
I am for open borders.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I'm.
That's all I wanted to say.
But open border. Okay, but this is the point. Open borders is a simplistic way of looking at it. We should let all the people into the country. We should control how they work, how we keep track of them. We should have reasonable restrictions on what they can do and who can become citizens. But we ought to let the people in here to work. That's the point of it all. We need a work visa program that would solve a lot of the problems we have with immigration right now. But that's not what we're talking about, really. And that's not what Donald Trump is talking about. Donald Trump just wants to build a wall because he can spend billions and billions of dollars doing that, make some side money for him and his cronies, and that's the problem. Hillary Clinton is a big cronyist. She makes big deals with her cronies. Trump is one of those cronies, and he makes big deals with cronies too. He's not making money for the country. He's not going to do things which are good for the American people. He's just doing things which are good for him and his cronies. It reminds me a lot, and I'll give you a history lesson because I'm a historian. Andrew Jackson was the same way. Andrew Jackson made deals all over the place for his friends who are real estate speculators to make money on real estate. He forced the Indians out of the South because he wanted to get that land for real estate speculators. That's what it was all about. He benefited people who were his cronies, not necessarily the country. And Donald Trump doesn't put the country first. He certainly doesn't put the Republican Party first. My time is up, apparently.
Yes. Thank you.
I'll let you both just do a
2-minute rebuttal?
two-minute rebuttal, and
Okay.
then we'll
And then we'll do Q&A? Fabulous. All right. One of the reasons why I think today, as opposed to in March, the never Trump is a bad deal and going with Trump is a good deal is something that Dave said. Trump is very good at marketing and selling. What are we doing now? In the election, we're marketing and selling our candidate. Our candidate who is beating Hillary almost 2-1 in the polls among independent voters. Where are elections won in the general? Independents. So sitting on our hands and being never Trump is really something that is going to help Hillary when we have somebody who is a gifted marketer. He is an excellent persuader. He understands persuasion in a way that the Hillary guys don't. One of Hillary's slogans that she tried out earlier was "Love Trumps." Can anybody finish it for me? Hate. That's right. What's the first two parts of that slogan? Love Trump. That's what Hillary says. Love Trump.
Because she loves him.
Best of pals.
That's powerful, and that tells you that the Hillary people don't understand persuasion. Now, earlier this week, Donald Trump took off his hat in that speech. Did anybody notice that he wasn't wearing his hat? Could anybody tell me what Donald Trump's hat says? Let me put it another way. Can anybody not tell me what Donald Trump's hat says? Okay? Because Donald Trump understands that we are visual people. Persuasion is about visuals, and he is going to persuade voters to vote for him. And that's one reason why, now that we have made the decision to go with this nominee, that we need to stick with it and not say, never Trump.
Well, you know, I'm actually in business. I have a business and I sell things. And I know that you can't sell a product which is associated in the minds of the public with negative things. It's very hard to turn something like that around, especially in a matter of a few months. And Donald Trump has become a tainted product. And we're not going to be able to, he's not going to be able to sell himself effectively when there's so much negative that can be raised against him. Now, I agree, Hillary Clinton's a bonehead, and it comes up with terrible things. Of course, she does love Trump because he's going to give her the presidency. But, you know, I don't want to support Hillary at all. I don't think she's any better than Trump is. She's bad in different ways. That's the only real difference. But Trump has no regard for the Constitution. He has no regard for the laws of the country. He barely understands the idea of the rule of law. And he's going to govern as an autocrat. And I don't see that as being good for the country at all. He has the slogan, "Make America Great Again." I didn't realize America wasn't great. I always thought America was pretty damn good, and that was what we were representing as Republicans. And Donald Trump apparently doesn't think America's good enough. He wants to make it better, when all that really needs to be done is to focus on the things that are good about America and stop bashing it the way he does a lot of the time. And I think that's really a negative thing, because in order to promote himself, he's essentially running down America to do that. And I think that's really terrible. And I think that we can do better than Trump. And when it comes to the Never Trump movement, they're now going to try to have something at the convention where they try to put somebody in instead of Trump. We shouldn't be afraid of that. We shouldn't be concerned. That's what the Republican system, the system the Republican Party is based on, is all about. It's about electing people, like delegates, to make a decision for us that's wiser than the mob rule of democracy, which would put Trump into power. Mob rule democracy puts demagogues into power. That's what republicanism is designed to stop, and that's what the convention can do. They can free the delegates can then vote for somebody else who's responsible and competent to take the position, and that will win over people, and that person will be able to run on the Republican Party being a responsible party that had a chance to nominate Trump and said, no, we're going to draw the line here and put somebody real and responsible in instead. And that you can run on.
Thank you, Dave. We're going to let them answer a few questions. And
We're like Buddy Trump.
Dave and Dave.
I don't think
The 2 days.
No.
The 2 days. Let me follow up on that. Actually, I've got a few questions, and then I'd like to open it up to the audience. But
Dave?
what are in my view, a good voter looks at 3 things. They look at character, they look at competence, and they look at the vision or the agenda of what that person is doing.
Does they also look at the opponent?
Well,
Yes.
I want us. I want with due respect. It's very easy to make an argument that just says look at Hillary, but I want us to look at Trump and just ask the question on character, competence, and their vision. Does Donald Trump pass the test for a fit nominee for the Republican Party?
Let me say, I took a while to decide on the nominees. And like Dave, I started out as a Rand Paul guy. Now, I didn't stay a Rand Paul guy. My second choice was Ted Cruz. And one of the reasons why the second candidate that I was going to support was Cruz was because of the things that you talked about. The vision that Ted Cruz has as a constitutional conservative is very important to me. One of the things that I do is constitutional litigation. Ted Cruz is a very, very good constitutional litigator. That vision of American government constrained by the Constitution, which frankly I think Dave is right, Trump is not very good on, is I think something that is very attractive. And it was very attractive to me about Rand Paul also. The competence question, I think, with Trump, I think you got a guy here now who is 70 years old and is worth billions of dollars.
Maybe.
How many billions is maybe open to question. Maybe it's 8, maybe it's 9, maybe it's 11, maybe it's 4.
Maybe it's $500 million. That's the latest estimate.
No, that's ridiculous. But clearly, Trump is competent. He's competent enough that he beat the best Republican field in history. We had 16 guys, and they weren't lightweights. Okay? This was a way better field than we had in 08 or in 12. We had Bobby Jindal. We had Rand Paul. I mean, we had really good guys. And Donald Trump beat them and made it look easy. That's competence in running a campaign. And running a campaign is what being the nominee is about. Character, you know, I think Dave has got a good point. I think Trump has run roughshod on some of his business deals. Okay? But he also, you know, managed to run casinos in New Jersey without getting hooked up with the mob. That's pretty hard to do. You know, okay.
Go ahead, your turn, your 2 minutes.
Well, say the question again, so I want to
Does
focus on.
Trump pass the bar in competence, in character, and in his vision?
Okay.
In other words, is to be a fit nominee?
Right. You know, a lot of Republicans are against big government. I'm against big government too. But I'm more against someone who essentially doesn't have a government background at all. I like the idea of putting people into office who at least have some governmental experience and some management experience that's relevant to government. Trump's entire experience with government is in getting government to do what he wants, getting essentially favorable deals like with eminent domain and with other government programs, ways to get essentially to use government for his benefit, not to help the people. That troubles me a little bit. But beyond that, you know, Trump seems very much not to have the character you want in a president. I mean, watch a Donald Trump video. Watch one of these videos, the compilation on YouTube that there's so many of Trump's things that he said. This isn't what we want representing the Republican Party. The Republican Party, I mean, I want to have a party that's dignified and that's serious. And he says things which are not only not dignified, but are unserious. He comes off as being essentially not just a cowboy, but a loose cannon to the degree that he may very well make decisions which are not going to be good for the country and which are not going to be good for the party at all. And you know that's not. I want somebody people to respect as our leader. I don't want somebody who people are going to write off as not being a serious candidate. And that troubles me, and I think that as far as running for office, I think we can do a lot better than Trump. I supported Cruz as my second choice after Rand Paul, just like David did. Cruz would have been enormously better than Trump, because Cruz has a little bit of background and training in government. He's not really experienced in government. He's not a great senator, if you ask me, but he would be enormously better than Trump because he knows what he's doing. He knows how to deal with people who are in government much more than Trump does, coming as an outsider. You know, I hate to be a Republican arguing for insider politics, but you have to have some of that competence. Even Ronald Reagan had a background in government and dealing with government more than Donald Trump does, and he turned out to be pretty good. You don't want to have somebody that's a total insider. Somebody like John McCain would be a disaster, I think, and he was rightfully voted down. But you got to have a little bit more on the ball than Trump does, I think, as far as government goes. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'd like to open the floor to questions. Edmund, go ahead. And just make it a question, but you can make a 10-second speech if you statement if you want, but keep it short.
I'll stand on it. I'm still on the fence. I'm not impressed either way. But I have a question. We have two Davids, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so David, the pro-Trump guy.
David won.
I'm going to be very polite and diplomatic and try not to get in a fight and all that. So first off, a little background on me. My name is Edmund Buckley. My cousin is the late William F. Buckley Jr. I have been studying principled conservatism all my life. I politics and campaigned for Barry Goldwater in 1964. So I have a principled conservative question for, number one, I don't see that Trump has done one step, and I'm on the fence, one step to reach out to the true Reagan-Buckley conservatives. That's number one. Now, I have a practical question, and I'd like to hear from you and your knowledge and your perspective on this free trade issue, because that's a big deal for me. Big deal. Please explain to me your knowledge of what free trade means, what protectionism means, and why Trump keeps saying we're losing with China, we're losing with Japan. So there's a trade deficit between the two. So I'd like to have your understanding of what that means, why any president can make a difference in the trade deficit in terms of what conceptually a trade deficit is, and why a 45% tariff on Chinese goods is going to help our country.
Okay. let me start with the first part of the question. What kind of outreach has Trump done to the Reagan-Buckley conservatives? And let me say, first of all, he has expressed many times admiration for your late cousin. So, I mean, I think he starts out, believing that Buckley did great things, created a great magazine. Now, Trump doesn't think.
Have you read his dossier on Trump?
Uh,
You know Buckley Jr.'s dossier?
I have read some stuff that your cousin wrote. I think about 2002.
2007.
Okay.
Dossier on Trump. You need to read it.
I don't know that I read the whole dossier. I have read some things that he's written. I used to subscribe to the magazine. I let my subscription lapse several years
If you
ago.
Google it, you'd see it.
Okay. He doesn't seem to be a big fan
No,
of
no,
Trump.
no,
Okay.
no.
But Trump is a fan of his, and I think Trump is a fan more of the fact that he created an institution that was successful, rather than, I don't know that Trump engages so much with the ideas inside the magazine as William Buckley created a successful institution and ran for governor or for mayor of the city of New York and made it a respectable race when Trump was a very young man. I think he was impressed by that. Trump is, I think, not as interested as some of the people currently at the magazine are in engaging American troops overseas. And I think that really is, in a large way, the source of the friction between him and the magazine. And Trump has been charitably inconsistent on the issue of life, which I think is very important to the people at the magazine and has been for a long time. Now, Trump's stated position today is a very firm, very strong pro-life position. Reagan's position was also inconsistent over the years. He signed the Abortion Legalization Act in California before he became a strong pro-life politician when he was running for president in 1980. So while the magazine has been consistent about that, the people that the magazine has supported have not always been consistent about it. So, I think you could argue, I'm not sure it's a winning argument, but you could argue that the evolution that Trump had on the life issue is similar to the evolution that Reagan had on the life issue.
Do I get to respond to that?
Yeah.
Well, the magazine has changed a lot in recent years, but the one thing I think would be consistent on if Buckley were still in charge is that it would oppose Trump. Not for the same reasons, maybe, because they are more neoconservative than they used to be, but I think on very different reasons. And I think that's because Trump doesn't hold to conservative values. There's nothing conservative about Trump when you get right down to it. He's not socially or fiscally conservative, and the free trade issue is at the heart of that. Trade deficits aren't necessarily a bad thing, and that's something that people don't understand. It doesn't matter if the money is coming in or out of the country, so long as it's going back and forth.
That's my point.
Yeah, and Trump doesn't understand
In
that.
other words, I wanted to hear from an opinion as to why he's bloviating about trade deficits, okay? And again,
Right.
I'm on the fence. I'm not pro or I'm just on the fence. But it's troubling to me his approach on trade.
Right.
When in fact, I don't think a president can do much of anything about trade.
Well, he can.
Policies they can implement that might help, but I mean.
Well, policies like a high tariff would
But,
do.
okay, so why would a 45% tariff on Chinese goods or any goods work for our country? Because all the 45 cents does on the dollar, it goes into the government treasury. It's a tax.
Right. If you want me to tell you, it won't. It won't help us at all. I mean, it'll raise the price of goods for consumers, and it'll encourage businesses to relocate out of the country, because or to send less trade to America, and that's just disastrous policy, and it doesn't make any sense. Trump is all about his own business, and his own business isn't selling things; it's selling himself. And you aren't going to put a tariff on Donald Trump. So he can say you can put a tariff on everybody else. That'll make more Donald Trump available. It's a terrible policy. It's a self-serving policy because he hasn't really thought about these things. And that's one of Trump's problems. He doesn't think about the things that he says. And when it comes down to making policy, that's not good. You need to have analysts who look at these things and figure out what's actual good policy, and then follow their suggestions rather than just saying, "Oh, well, this is going to help people because it looks like an obvious way to please them." And one of the things that Trump is doing is selling us as Republicans on these ideas, and basically they're Democrat ideas. Protectionism and tariffs are Democratic policy going back hundreds of years. They're not Republican policy. Republicans have always been anti-tariff, and that's because the tariffs are bad for business, and Republicans have always been in favor of strong American business.
Okay, let me, I know there's a lot
Smoot
of
and Holly
interest
were
here.
both Republicans.
Yeah, well, they've always been
Yeah,
bad.
just to let you all know, we're a little bit past 1 o'clock. I know there's a lot of interest, so I think, are you guys willing to stay and
Yeah.
do
A
extended
little bit,
time?
yeah.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that, but the official meeting's closed, so if any of you guys need to get back to your work or whatever, you're free to go, but I see hands up,
hands
so
are up.
I know there's a lot of questions. May I suggest keep your statement question brief and let them answer, and you guys try to also be brief, and then so we can kind of move things along. Go ahead. I don't know who to say first, but ma'am, yeah, you said.
So if the third-ish option, or whatever you want to call it, of free the delegates works, the convention manages to nominate someone else, is the election still winnable when you've just essentially disenfranchised the 40% of Republicans who voted for Trump in the primaries?
Go ahead.
I think yes. I think it's very winnable. I think that would be essentially an inspiration to the voters. They would see the Republicans standing up for Republican values and Republican principles, standing against something which is inherently anti-Republican. And those 40% of voters who supported Trump in the primary are not necessarily hard Trump voters. The guy who walked out of here may be a hard Trump voter. But that's really only maybe half of them, I think. I think the other half of them might see reason and see that the negatives of Trump are so high that nominating somebody else will look like the Republican Party is making a smart move. If it's the right person, it's got to be the right candidate.
I'd like to interject and say I believe it is winnable as well. I'll just give you some poll information, poll numbers. As you know, if you look at recent polls, Donald Trump is about 5 to 10 points behind Hillary in most of these polls. But Hillary is extraordinarily weak as a candidate, and the only reason she's beating Trump is that Trump is weaker. Trump has the 67% unfavorable that Dave Null mentioned, while Hillary has like 55% unfavorable.
Both terrible.
If you go back to March when they were polling other people, Kasich was killing Hillary. Cruz was even or ahead at the same time that Trump was 7 to 10 points behind. So any other candidate will probably do about 7 to 10 points better. I'll give you a scenario. The convention goes in, they screw all the Trump voters, and in a fury, they nominate, say, a Governor Nikki Haley or a Governor Scott Walker. Some people may hate that idea. You're going,
I do absolutely hate it.
Well, guess what? Scott Walker or Nikki Haley would probably be up against Hillary in the polls today. Hillary is a terrible nominee.
Nikki Haley would smash
She's a
her.
terrible candidate. She's running a lousy campaign, and the only reason she's beating Trump is because Trump is more unpopular. That's my opinion. But I'll let Dave
Let me say, there are a couple of reasons why I think it becomes completely unwinnable. Now, guys like me, look, I'm a hardcore Republican. I'm going to go with the Republican nominee. I mean, I held my number 2 issue is open borders, and I held my nose and voted for John McCain. Okay, if I'm going to hold my nose and vote for John McCain, I'm going to vote for whoever the Republican nominates. Okay, but there are a lot of Republicans who are not as hardcore with me as I am, and independent voters and Democrats, the Hispanic Democrats for Trump, are not going to go for generic Republican.
All 3 of them.
Most.
That's probably more than what 2007.
Yeah.
So I think we lose 10% minimum from changing the nominee. just because we changed the nominee and you upset a bunch of his supporters. On top of that, nobody else has any kind of decent name ID except Ted Cruz.
And Paul Ryan.
Now we could, well, yeah, Paul Ryan got elected in Wisconsin. He's not getting elected in America.
Paul Ryan's gonna be lucky to hold on to his seat.
That's right.
He lost on the election.
So we got, if we put in Ted Cruz, we don't lose much in our name ID. We lose some because let's face it, Donald Trump is one of the most famous people in America, and a lot of low information voters are voting for the guy I've heard of. And I've heard of Trump and I've heard of Clinton and I've never heard of any of these guys. Okay, and on election day, if that costs you 2 points, guess what? You just lost.
And those are the people who want to pick your leader.
Those are the people who are going to pick your leader, whether you want them to or not. Look, Donald Trump said, I love the uneducated, and everybody mocked him. But you know what you call all the people who mock the uneducated? The guy who lost the election.
That's right.
Everybody gets to vote. Democrats have been sweeping the vote with the uneducated for 40 years, and they've been kicking our ass. We have to make a pledge to the voters that all of them matter and that the President of the United States will care about all of them, not just about guys with PhDs and law degrees.
Thank you.
So, if I can respond to that, the Democrats are kicking our ass. So let's nominate a Democrat and become the Democrats. Is that a solution? Is that what you as Republicans want to do?
No.
I mean, come on. That's outrageous.
Okay, Tim.
Most of your arguments, I'm talking to David, never Trump. Most of your arguments were why Trump shouldn't be the nominee, and I probably support most of those arguments. But failing a coup at the convention, how do you square, how do you support, or how do you get in line with Hillary Clinton appointing the next 4 Supreme Court judges?
I don't like it very much. But on most issues, Hillary, aside from the right to life issue, which I think she would be terrible on, Hillary Clinton's more conservative than Trump is on a lot of these issues. Certainly on things like going to war. No, not on guns. No, that's right. Hillary's terrible. I don't want to have to defend. I don't want to defend Hillary.
If there had been
Trump
Merrick
flip-flop on the whole
Garland,
gun thing?
Right.
yesterday, would Obama have lost that 4-4 vote? The answer is no.
Yeah.
And those are the kinds of people that Hillary.
But I don't have any confidence that Trump would be more conservative than who he appoints either.
He is a wild card, but we know.
We know his sister, who is a judge and is not a particularly conservative one. Why would he not appoint? Why would he not follow her recommendations, which would be just as bad as who Hillary wants to appoint? I don't see that as any kind of a real issue for Trump. Hillary is indefensible. She's a terrible candidate. But there is an alternative. Even if we don't have a coup at the convention, as you mentioned, there are other options, and one of them is there are 2 Republican governors who've been nominated by the Libertarian Party, who are long-term Republicans, who are experienced administrators and executives, and they're smart, unlike Trump. Well, Trump's smart, but he's not smart about politics. And Gary Johnson and William Weld, if you saw them on TV the night before last, they know what they're talking about, and they know what they want to do, and they're now polling at 12%, and there ought to be some way to consider going with them if we don't get a better nominee in the Republican Party, because they're essentially Republicans who are looking for, they're old-style Republicans who are looking for a way that they can get into the race and be effective as an alternative to Trump, and I think that's an alternative we ought to look at.
Gary Johnson refused to say that entering World War II was the right thing to do.
At least on the Supreme Court justices, Trump has said he will listen to the Heritage Foundation, which is so much better than listening to the ABA.
Which has
everybody has been listening.
The Heritage. 10 years ago, Heritage is a good organization. They have sold out to the nativists. They're backed entirely by the Taunton organization, and they're terrible.
The ABA is.
What?
Well,
Bad thing.
and
The ABA, I wouldn't join the ABA if you paid me to.
Well,
let me add just a little bit to that. Trump has said not only that he's going to ask that his nominees be vetted by Heritage, but also that they be vetted by the Federalist Society.
Yeah.
that's better.
And as a Federalist, I'm thinking that's a pretty good idea. I mean,
And
leading
to Trump's-
Federalists
to
include
Trump's
guys
credit,
like Rand Paul and
he
Ted
did put
Cruz.
out a list
very conservative. Now he walked it back and said, well, I'll pick from among this list or maybe out. And it's one of those typical things where there's less there than meets the eye, but the list itself was a pretty good conservative list.
And it was a list entirely of appointees from George W. Bush. And W made some good appointments and some bad appointments, well, except for our local Supreme Court justice, who was not obviously a W appointee.
George has a question.
I just would like to get a poll of the room. The previous question was asked if Trump gets dumped at the convention. My question is, would they vote for him? It's like, my answer is whoever the person is.
Oh, you want to poll the room of...
So of the people here who are
Yeah.
total Trump supporters all the way through, if somebody put a gun to your head and said, what other person in the Republican Party that you tolerate, that would, you would go and vote in November if it wasn't Trump, if the convention were to nominate that person, who would you want it to be?
That's a good question.
Sarah Palin.
Okay. Are there other, okay,
I think it's
so
an easy
let
one.
me generalize that question. If the convention were to pick another candidate, why don't you guys tell us? Who do you think that candidate should be? I'll ask that first, and then I'll ask the should not be question. So I'll call out some names. So we got one name. Go ahead. Who do you, if the convention decided, for whatever reason, to free the delegates, go somewhere else. No, that's what I'm saying. Let's poll the whole room. Okay, Rand Paul, what do you think? Who should the...
We're nominating somebody to win the election. We're not nominating
Exactly.
the best president,
Right.
John Kasich.
John Kasich, okay.
Yeah.
Another Kasich, whatever. You guys, who's
Yeah,
your Trump
when-
supporter?
When this
TJ,
whole thing,
what do you
when
think?
this whole thing started, there was 17 people that ran for president. Trump was the 9th on my list, so there's 8 people that I would have preferred to have in front of him. But, in 4 years ago, Romney was the last person on my list. 8 years ago, McCain was the last person on my list.
But it's a shorter list, so Romney wasn't. But you didn't answer the question. Would you vote if they dumped Trump? Would you vote for the Republican nominee? And which nominee would you like to have if not Trump?
If the Republican convention, and I am not a Trump supporter, but if the Republican convention does some backroom, smoke-filled, underhanded deal and cheats the American people. I was in the Army for 20 years. We vote for people. We don't steal elections. I will leave I will resign from being a Republican if they do something underhanded. There's no candidate. There is no candidate other than the one that gets
Can I say
elected.
something to this?
Go ahead.
They won't steal the election because the Republican Party is structured in such a way that they have the ability to change the rules before the convention that's built into the system so that they can free the delegates, and it's not stealing the election.
That's true.
It's
all-
No,
But it's not.
It's all according to the
Basically
rules.
telling all the people.
Okay, look, this is a rumor. You all are supposed to be Republicans, right? The Republican means a system of government of indirect representation where you elect people to elect other people to make decisions. And that's what the delegates to the convention are supposed to be able to do. We don't vote for the president, we vote for the delegates.
Here in Travis County, the people elected Robert Morrow to be the chairman of the Republican Party.
And that's what we don't want.
But Let me tell
Exactly.
you what. Let me tell you
Hold on a
what.
second.
Okay, at the SD14 convention, I was in charge of the resolutions committee, and I got over 100 resolutions from people saying, we need to kick him out, we need to kick him out, we need to kick him out. I'm sorry, I was in the Army for 20 years. We don't overturn elections in this country. You overturn elections in third world countries, and what you're talking about, and people that think that Ted Cruz is going to ride into Cleveland on a white horse and save this party,
This is not about.
going to
This is
happen.
not about. Ted
All right,
Cruz.
this is not a
Number one.
public election. This is a
Number two.
private party election.
This is about the conscience of a delegate. This is about the fact that when you send a delegate to Cleveland, They are not a robot. They are a person. They are representative.
When they ran to be a delegate, they
Look.
all followed the
They
rules.
can and they should follow their conscience in what they're doing.
The problem we have
That is
here-
part of the democratic process.
The problem we have here is the basis of it is that we have allowed our elections in the Republican Party to be interfered with by people who are not Republicans, who are outside the party, or who are Democrats crossing over and voting for a candidate who appealed to them on emotional issues, not on what he was actually standing for.
Okay.
And that got us Trump.
Okay. This went off the rails, and TJ, okay, you can speak, but I asked a question about if we were to choose someone else, who would you want to be that someone else? And then I had a speech about why we shouldn't pick someone. Okay. Are there any other names anyone wants to throw out there about that before
I thought your Nikki Haley session was
does
great.
happen, it's not going to be someone
Again,
we
you're not
want.
answering the freaking
It's going to be
question.
someone they want. It's going to be Jeb or Romney or some other fraud.
But they'd be better than Trump.
No, actually, let me respond. Let me then, since this is off the rails anyway, I will respond to that.
Yeah.
Because I am close to the Free the Delegates, and it is true. A lot of them are. The majority of delegates are people who are for Cruz and for Trump. And if you add Rubio, 80%. So you think about the delegates. They are like you. They are like me. They are like him. We are the constitutional conservatives. We are that wing of the party. And the plain fact is, some of the constitutional conservative Cruz supporters are going, why are we letting a charlatan become our nominee and go into ignominious defeat to Hillary? We, as the delegates, have the power and have the right to do something about this in this extraordinary circumstance. I agree with you, TJ, that in the normal course of events, you should not, if you are bound to do something, you should follow that. That's a pledge. You should follow that pledge. But if that pledge contradicts your conscience,
You shouldn't have made the pledge.
well, you know what? A lot of things Trump has done and said have happened after these primaries and have happened over the course. A lot of people were thinking and hoping and giving Trump
At some
a chance
point, you get
and
fed
saying,
up.
you know what? I don't like what he said. I don't like the lies he said back then, but I'll give him a chance for the good of the party.
Ted Cruz
And you
is
know
out
what
of
he
the
did?
race when the people asked to be delegates to the
Again,
national
this
convention.
is not about Ted Cruz, and Ted Cruz will not be the nominee. I'm telling you right now.
I
know this because I've spoken to several Cruz delegates who are part of this. This is nothing to do with Ted Cruz. This is everything to do with the fact that Donald Trump is unfit, unqualified, and unelectable.
I think they should rule out everybody
in their
who
opinion.
is in the election to be ruled out.
And we face a disaster in November
'Cause they all
unless we
lost to
pick
Trump,
someone
yeah.
else. That's the view. And the question is,
I think Nikki Haley
do
is
delegates
really good.
have the right to do this?
I think Nikki should have run, but she didn't run, so.
Go ahead. You've been raising your hand for a long time. You have the right to take the floor. Go ahead.
My name is Anna Scott. I am TJ's daughter. And
I'm sorry.
I have two questions. My first question will be regard to to what you've been talking about with the freeing the delegates. And in my opinion, this is a more calmer version than what my father just said. And it was this.
Well, we
What's
thank you
more
for that.
important, doing what you want or doing what is right? That is my question to you, to the free the delegates thing. Is it right? Is it right for them to do what? Is their consciousness right in this regard? If they want to go to a different.
That is exactly the right question.
Your conscience
And I
tells
think-
you to do the right
and
thing.
I think throwing away a pledge or going against it, or kind of doing it through subterfuge is not right. Ron Paul delegates in the 2012 election, in the 2012 convention from Nevada, Romney won the primary, but they went in there and they said, you know what, we're Ron Paul guys and we'll vote for him. So it can be done. I don't believe it is right for a delegate to pledge to one candidate and then go and vote for another. However,
They didn't change
I
candidates.
believe that if it is against that delegate's conscience, like they've come to the conclusion that this person is so unfit, I believe on the first ballot, those delegates should have the right to abstain and not actually vote according to that pledge, because they have determined that what was done, that they cannot support the candidate that they're pledged to. And I believe they should have a rule change to make that clear, because right now it's sort of there, but it's unclear. Go ahead.
Okay, I was at the convention in Tampa and I saw the rule change where, and I do like Ron Paul, and I really didn't care if he got the right to speak or not, but changing the rule to not let him speak after it had already been there, that was wrong.
Right.
Changing the rule now to go, oh, we don't like who the delegates are pledged to, let's change the rule in midstream. That's wrong too, the same way it was wrong to Ron Paul, it is wrong to change it now. No, if you're going to have rules, set the rules. If you want to change the rules, make it for the next convention,
Correct.
not the current.
And the American people are gonna lean that way, though. The American people
No, we
want
do
what's
that in
right.
Texas.
That's
That's
what's
what we
gonna
did at
No,
our
no, every-
convention. We
No.
changed the rules for the next convention.
No, we-
not-
No,
they don't.
Every convention sets their own rules,
Yes.
and they
But
pass
we
their own
know it
rules.
before we
There's
ever
temporary
get
rules,
there.
and then there's the final rules that are
And we
passed
have
at
the
the
right
convention.
as delegates to vote on that. At the major convention,
That's
we
right.
don't get as much right.
No, that's-
I was there and we did
Well-
not. It was so.
The great
bad.
irony of this is that Trump has destroyed the Republican Party, whether he gets the nomination or not. If he doesn't get the nomination, people will be alienated by the process that didn't work out for the popular vote. And if he gets,
We've all gone so left
Well,
PC
and
that
I
way.
take issue with that statement.
Right.
It's not Donald Trump that's ruined the
I don't
Republican
like
Party,
those
it's the
people who
Republican
run it, but I'm-
establishment elitists that have ruined the Republican Party that I was a member of many, many years ago, that the same thing can be said for the Democrat Party and the support that Bernie Sanders got, because people are sick and tired of the insiders that don't give a damn about us. You know,
Well-
if you've ever seen the movie The Matrix, we are the little pods in the Matrix. We feed them, and I'm sick of it.
well, there's a difference between ruining the party and destroying the party.
Ruining, destroying, it's the same thing. You're talking semantics. I'm talking about actual, living, breathing, viable entity here that we're talking about here. The Republican Party stands for something, and so do I. But the thing is it has abandoned me.
Right, I agree. It's abandoned me
Okay?
too.
And Donald Trump has brought me back to the point to where I'm energized to be a Republican again, because he is saying exactly what I'm feeling. He is acting on the things that I feel about. He is going to do things that Romney never would do, Ron Paul will never do, Ted Cruz sure as hell ain't ever gonna do.
Well, unfortunately,
And
those aren't Republican
What
things.
is it that you think Donald Trump will do that Ted Cruz won't do that is so wonderful?
May I
It's not about
may I
Cruz.
interject here?
Remember, it's not about Cruz.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
I actually
but-
I want to pick up on what you said and fall back to the part of Mr.
Oh,
Buckley's
I'll-
question
yeah,
that I
that's-
didn't answer,
you're done. I'll be
because
happy.
I think
Because I wanna know what
they're
the
linked.
content is here. What
Okay.
policy are we talking about here?
Okay,
Go ahead.
We'll let him talk first.
They're linked, and the link actually is why in Pennsylvania and Ohio Trump is tied, and the link is
He's not tied.
regular people, not PhDs, not law school grads, regular people in places like Pennsylvania and Ohio and in Texas, but especially in places like Pennsylvania and Ohio, feel like the elites of the country have let them down with trade agreements largely. Now, this may or may not be entirely accurate, but the effect, perceived effect, of trade agreements that the United States has with China and other countries, but primarily with China, has been the destruction of the steel industry in the United States
Yes.
and the creation of the steel industry in China
And Korea.
and Korea. Okay, this is a microcosm, but because steel is a very tangible thing, I think it's a good example. And it is why Trump is able to speak to people in Pennsylvania and say, I'm going to do something for you about trade. And he may or may not be right, okay? But
I
remember,
just want to know, what is he going to do? What is his
well,
solution?
we don't know what
He
Trump's
doesn't
solution is.
say specific things like that.
Let me finish. And again, I'm not trying to get in a fight, people yelling and screaming here. You guys are so brave and incredible to do that. I hat tip to both of you.
Can we hold your hand?
I'm proud of both of you guys. you know, so we're all in the same family, I think. But what my question was, what is Trump going to really do about that? Will his solution help America? That's kind of my essence of my question.
Well, I don't know if what Trump will do will actually help America. But what I know is that voters in Pennsylvania and Ohio think that what Donald Trump will do will help them.
Those working class Democrat voters in Ohio.
What we call Reagan Democrats.
Look, I see.
Well, I'm a working class Texan voter.
Right.
Yeah.
So your point doesn't answer my question.
Okay, but
Right.
the question is, how does free trade goes up and down? It varies over time. There's more or less trade. Different things get traded in different places. You can increase or decrease tariffs. One of the things we know from reading Donald Trump, which, by the way, if there are any campaigns out there that didn't have people read The Art of the Deal, they were committing political malpractice. I mean, when your opponent puts out a best-selling book and you don't read it, and I heard candidates late in the campaign say, "I haven't read his book."
Well, my retort
You
to
know.
that is, we all should be reading the Constitution.
And nobody is better at that than Ted Cruz and Rand Paul, and you know, there are probably only little bits and pieces of it that Trump is very familiar with.
Has
But
he been read?
if you're gonna win an election and the other guy tells you what he's gonna do, you should listen to what he says. Now, he may or may not actually do it, but you should read it. And one of the things Trump says in The Art of the Deal is always start high. Okay, that's his opening negotiation position, is always a high, very aggressive position. And what Trump is trying to do is slow, or perhaps in some cases, reverse the flow of American manufacturing jobs out of the country. Now, on net, that may or may not be good for the United States. But if you are a guy who lost his manufacturing job and then gets it back, then it's good for you. And for a Pennsylvania voter, where the coal fields and the steel mills have been shut down and lots of people are facing generational unemployment there, a Donald Trump who says, "I'm gonna undo what Hillary and Bill Clinton did that cost you and your granddad and your dad their jobs," or at least I'm not going to sign on to the Trans-Pacific Partnership that Hillary negotiated in the form that it's in because it's a bad deal, and I'm going to make it a little bit better deal. That is a pitch to voters that is a winning pitch. Now, whether it has the large effect or not that Trump says it does, I don't know, and I don't think we can know. But, you know, the economy is not just the aggregate, right? The economy is one guy, one gal at a time. And I don't care if Bill Clinton does a great trade deal that makes the overall economy move by 20%. If I lose my job and I can't get a new job, I'm hosed. I don't want to be on welfare.
Let me just say a quick point.
Let the other day.
You know, he's right. There are a lot of problems with people losing jobs and having to deal with that. But you know, in the 1950s and 1960s, the average American changed jobs and relocated someplace else in the country every 3 years. Now it's every 7 years. The reason for that is that people have become complacent. They've become, you know, they've expected government essentially to help them out. 24 months of unemployment, insane. You know, and so now we aren't as adaptable to the possibility of certain industries declining and certain other ones rising up in their place. We don't need a solution is not to cut off certain parts of trade because they aren't benefiting particular industries. The solution is retraining people and getting people to accept the idea that maybe they need to go to California, to Texas, or someplace out of the Northeast and the Midwest to get a better job somewhere else, retrain themselves, Americans used to believe that you could remake yourself and make yourself better, and now they aren't willing to do that. A lot of the problem with Trump, and Trump's really our punishment, for the fact that we don't have the attitude that you have to work to get the American dream anymore. The American dream doesn't just get handed to you. That's what Trump represents. The American dream is something you have to work for and achieve and make accommodations and changes to get. And we're not going to solve a societal problem like that overnight, but that's what we have to look at. We have to look, maybe there's a problem in our society that we need to address, not by shutting down trade. Every kind of trade that we have, every expansion of business is, no matter how it's done, even if it's sending metal overseas to be processed in China instead of America, people are making a profit on that. We just have to make sure that Americans get in on that profit if that's where the profit is, not try to force the invisible hand of the economy to go where we want it to go. We have to adjust to what's happening in the world.
Okay,
I believe in American exceptionalism, and that argument is counter to American exceptionalism.
We're exceptionally good at adapting to change.
Part of American exceptionalism is freedom and a free economy. So I think
I completely agree with that.
Okay.
The opportunity should remain here.
I did want
to
to once again. We're like past double overtime, so I want to once again thank
Okay,
both
kick
of
us
our
out.
awesome guys.
Great job.
Come on, you did
I
good.
know there's hands raised and stuff. So
I got better just than that in Orlando,
we'll,
man.
we'll close it, but if you guys want to ask more, I know we can be talking about it all afternoon. I know you had a question.
I was just wanting to try to answer this.
You went to the Pulse night?